Welcome everyone. I'm Chris Solini, owner of Reputation Igniter. If you were on the webinar last week, you heard a bit from me. And this week we're going to be kind of transitioning into another topic, which is going to be really excited, and I'm super pumped. Again, this is part of a 4-part series. We are on now the second part of it. And so as we roll that out, if you're registered for this one, you're registered for the next two. So that'll be Wednesday at 12 next week, and then the following week. So you just gotta, I think we've got reminders coming out through Zoom to you. So just make sure that you got your calendars marked and you're plugged in. Again, we'll kind of kick it off with 40 minutes of content, and then we'll do the Q&A at the end. So if you got to jump off, feel free to. Remember, all of this is being recorded for you, and it's accessible inside of the Digital Guerrilla Marketing portal. And so again, that website is, oh, there we go. I went too fast. Is going to be at digitalguerrilla.marketing. And so the recordings, the presentation slides, success checklist, and then the kind of the personal assistance that we're offering just as a way to kind of help pay it forward is all in there. You should have kind of gotten that first email from me, just kind of walking you through the instructions on how to get in there and access that. If you're having any trouble, please let me know. We'll kind of reiterate how do you access that, password, and all that kind of stuff at the end of the webinar if you're just kicking off with us. And so with that, again, just a reminder that we're all in this together, right? The reason that we kind of came together, put our heads together and said, hey, how can we benefit not just the Seattle community, but I know there's people from kind of all over the country attending the webinar. How can we add that value to our fellow business owners and just help us all kind of get out of this and come back, bounce back better than ever? And we think it's just, how can we give you guys some actionable items that you can leverage to really kind of make sure that you've got a good, strong digital footprint and kind of move forward. And so today's phase, who's going to be the main speaker, is going to be Molly Onaga of WormWood SEO. You heard a little bit from her last week, and she is just an amazing, incredible SEO engineer over there with WormWood. Been doing it for, I think, a little over a decade, and just kind of takes on the toughest, challenging projects, and that's because Woody trusts her, but it's also because she gets results and she knows how to follow through and can really dissect anything. I've thrown her lots of questions from clients of mine over the last couple of years, and she's always got a good answer, and she never responds right off the cuff. She goes, let me do my research, which I love about her, because I never feel like she's given me a just kind of off the cuff response or answer. And then the other one that's going to be gracing our wonderful presence is John Howard of Reach Local. John's been helping small businesses out for over 10 years navigate all of the search engine marketing that you could imagine. The technology and the platform that they leverage just continues to blow my mind, to be honest with you. Reach Local is a company that I kind of bumped into when I first started my business about 7 years ago. And I'll be honest with you, at the point they had a decent suite of services, but it was something that was good. But where it's at now is just, it blows my mind. And John can talk circles around me in a lot of those areas, which is sometimes a hard thing to do, but the guy knows his platform backwards and forwards. So if you've got a technical question, John's your guy when it comes to paid advertising. So John, thanks for being on with us today. And then I guess this is just a mirrored image of me. I'm going to be chiming in a little bit, just kind of weaving the thread between last week's webinar and this week's webinar, kind of saying, hey, how does this all kind of flow together, right? We're kind of trying to create this sort of synergistic approach for you to just take some small actionable steps towards making sure that you've got a stronger, healthier, more searchable presence online. And that comes with just taking a little bit of action, some key points, some leverage points to do that, right? So we are now on phase 2, and phase 2 is all about updating your digital business card. So we started with building trust online, which is kind of that base sort of platform for us to kind of move forward. Phase 2 now, we're getting into some more technical details about, hey, how do I update my digital business card so that when people are looking for me online, that they can find me, and they can find me in a way and in a capacity that is going to allow them to be able to connect with me. Molly's going to dive a lot deeper into what I mean exactly by that. Because there's a lot of things that can kind of trip you up. Little small things, little details that if you don't pay attention to them can really kind of hurt people's ability to locate you and then actually connect with you. So with that, I'm going to let you take it away, Molly.
Awesome, Chris. Perfect setup. Thank you. Like Chris said, we are talking about your digital business card today. So what that really means is creating key key listings, optimizing them for search, because really we're talking about appealing both to your potential customers and patients, but also to Google. So this is really multifaceted. Both of those are extremely important things that as a business owner, you need to pay attention to. So, so here we go. We're going to kind of break this into two areas, hopefully give you very helpful information in both. And that's as to why you should be updating these listings and optimizing them, and also which ones. We got a great question at the end of last week on Q&A that it was literally that. Which profiles and listings should I pay attention to? So we're going to dive into that. Hopefully give you some kind of easy answers, and like Chris said, some actionable items. And Chris touched on COVID, but anything we're going to talk about today, it's even more important in the current climate. People are looking for up-to-date information, and a lot of things are kind of in limbo right now. Businesses are open or half open, or they're open with different hours, or they're doing curbside pickups that they may not have before. So communicating these updates to your clients is more important than ever. I think we can all kind of get that from our own personal experiences from the last few months. Whether it's for me, it's been seeing if my wine store down the street is doing local pickup, or if my oil change place is taking appointments. I've been going to Google specifically, or to businesses' Facebook pages, and trying to get these answers. And the businesses, that have given me easy answers and have put answers out there are the ones that have gotten my business every time. So think about it. These actions are always important, but right now, when we're in this kind of limbo client, even more so. So let's kick it off with why should I update and optimize my listings? This is an old quote, and this goes way back, but it's still super relevant today. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Back in the day, this was probably kind of a door-to-door salesman type of quote, but in this digital age, it's just as important, and you have to figure out a way, even though there's more space between you, there's the internet between you. How are you going to get people to know your business, to like your business, and to trust your business? And Chris did an awesome job of explaining how reviews are kind of the cornerstone of that trust, and helped to build that last week. And so we're going to dive a little bit more into this week about what else helps you build that trust, likability, etc. So the first reason is your customers want to find information, and they want to find consistent information that they can trust. We're going to show you a few good examples, kind of like we did last week. But the bottom line here is no one wants to be going to your Google Maps profile and seeing that you're open until 2 o'clock, and then going to your Yelp profile and seeing that you're open until 5 o'clock. Or maybe they're seeing a Everett address on one profile and a Bellevue address on another profile. It's not only super confusing to people, but it starts to build this sense of distrust, again, that Chris kind of talked about. So this is R&R Foundation specialist. We're trying to give some of our favorite clients that do a great job some shout outs. And so I know that these are a little bit small and maybe hard to see, and you guys will get copies of these slides. But right here we have their Yelp profile on the far left. We've got their Google Maps, Google My Business profile in the center, and a snapshot of their Facebook page on the far right there. And the important thing is here, not only are they giving good information, because these are thoroughly filled out profiles on really all extents, and they have good reviews, not to mention, as we talked about last week, but the information they're putting out there is consistent. So you're gonna see, as silly as it sounds, the business name is the same on all the profiles. The address and phone number is the same on all the profiles. The website is the same on all the profiles, or the hours of operation. All of these things create kind of this continuity across your online profiles that's important for people to get, because as I said, if you don't have that, you're going to start to become a little less likable. You might send someone to the wrong location. No one wants that. But you're making it harder for people to find information if it's not consistent across all of these profiles. So here's another great example, Hex Daughter Coffee out in North Bend. Same snapshots, Yelp, Google, and Facebook. You're gonna see all of the same information here across all the platforms. Another great tip to point out here is they've gone so far as to put a COVID update here, which is something you can do on Google and a few of these. So they're kind of telling people our drive-thru still open. If you're wondering if we're open or what's going on, here's an update so you don't have to look any further. That's super helpful to people. So utilizing these profiles to get as much information as you can on them and keeping them consistent is really the key here. I'm going to throw it over to John really quick. We touched on this last week, but just to kind of go through how it is people search, and then on the back end of that, why it's important to have the consistencies in these profiles after someone might do something like find your ad in that paid space, for instance.
Thanks, Molly. Yeah, so this screenshot shows the search tendencies of prospects when they do go to Google. And so if we go back to the foundation repair company, let's say a prospect is looking for a foundation specialist or a foundation repair, they go to Google, they type in foundation repair Seattle, and then this is what shows up on the screen here, where 14.1% of the prospects click on the pay-per-click ads at the top there in the pink. And then you go down, you have the maps at 2.3%, the local pack results at 32.3%, and then the most popular, which is the organic search results at 50.8%. After the prospect clicks on, let's say, for example, one of those organic search results, they're then taken to the client's website, or pardon me, the company's website, where they can look around, browse the website, check things out. If they do like the website, they do like what they see, the next step they do is they go back to the search bar on Google, they type in the company's name, and then they look for reviews. They look for reviews, they look for the Google Maps Places page, which is on the right-hand side there for Huck's Daughter Coffee. And then they read about your reputation. And then if they see that you have a good reputation, which is extremely important, then they go back to the Google search bar, they type in the business name again, and then they click on the listing most of the time in the SEO. So very important to be there. A, when the prospect's initially searching, and then B, after the prospect has found you, and then wants to locate you again after reviewing or going over the reviews. So back to you, Molly.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, this is key. If someone is Googling your business, and besides your website, if things like your Google Maps listing and your Facebook profile and your Yelp profile are not showing up on page one, that's a problem. Most likely that means you're giving away some of your page one space to your competition. So yeah, thank you, John, for that. That's exactly right. When people, are kind of trying to seal the deal and going to research you, you want your best space there, obviously, but you want to be taking up as much of that kind of page one space as you possibly can to make sure that you're going to be the choice that people make. So let's head to the second. I know the first reason, hopefully, was a little bit intuitive. Obviously, you want people to find your information online and you want it to be consistent. You don't want to be confusing people. This second thing is maybe not as intuitive to some people, and that's that Google also wants to find information and cares that it's consistent. Google cares that the information out there that Google's delivering is good, and it's valuable information that people can trust. So once again, if you are, if you have inconsistent information across various platforms, Google's going to ding you for that. They don't like that. And it's one of the many things that goes into where they're going to rank you. So, if just pleasing your potential clients and patients and customers is not enough motivation, this is it right here. Google cares a huge amount about this. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to mention something called your NAP in some of the upcoming slides. And so I wanted to give you a quick synopsis on kind of what that is. It's an acronym that stands for name, address, phone. And it's something like I kind of just said that Google cares a great amount about. It's one of the factors that they really put at, kind of the top of the list among a few other things in determining where you're going to show up for local search. So if your NAP is not consistent across the web and in a lot of places across the web, on a lot of different sites and profiles, that's going to be a disadvantage to you. So once again, just kind of want to give you a little bit of this so you know where I'm going. If I mention NAP, it is not because we're sleeping. It is what this is: name, address, phone. We looked at a version of this last week. This is kind of the pie that shows a variety of things that Google's looking at when they are determining where to rank, either your website or your local maps listing, whatever it be. Last week we kind of talked about it in terms of reviews, which is also a part of this pie. But if you are paying attention to your NAP and how you are listed on different websites and your Google Maps listing and all those other sites out there, directory, social media type sites, you're hitting a huge piece of this pie. Just those kind of things that I just listed off fall into basically three categories here, and they're listed down below. But those three categories make up almost 50% of Google's signals that they're looking at, that they care about when they're determining where to rank you. So like I said, if you need more motivation, here it is. Just taking some of the steps that we're going to talk about today, which are easy and very doable from your end, are going to go a long way, because they are going to touch on about 50% of what Google's really looking at. So we showed you some good examples. I've got to show you where this kind of goes wrong for both people and in Google's eyes. So we're looking at an example here of, believe it or not, it's an extreme version or kind of example, I will say. But this is the same business. This is a Google snapshot on the left here and a Yelp snapshot on the right. And you can see the Google listing, it's kind of circled here, but the bigger panel is to the right of that. Business name here is Northwest Pediatric Dentistry, bar Meet Dr. Thomas. And you can see it's missing a lot of information here. For one, it doesn't have the business hours or the website plugged in, but you can see the Bellevue address here, the phone number. And I had to do some searching, honestly, to find this same business on Yelp, because as you can see, not even the business name is matching up here. So the only way you can even tell these are really the same business is that it is the same business address. And you can see in this review, for instance, there's a mention of the same Dr. Thomas. So most likely this business kind of went through a shift at some point, maybe a rebranding, and did change their name. But this is not reflected in their online profiles. And this is something that's going to be incredibly confusing, obviously, to a potential patient. But this is Google just shaking its head and going, what am I looking at here? The only consistent information, like I said, it really is the address. So this is an extreme version. It's probably more common that maybe your office has moved in the past few years and you've updated your address some places and maybe not others. Maybe your old address is floating out there on some old profiles. Or maybe in COVID or just in general, your business hours have changed and Google is reflecting those, but your Yelp profile still has some old hours. So those are probably some more examples that are more common. Like I said, this is an extreme one, but just to kind of point out, this is worst case scenario. Not only is it super confusing for people, but Google does not want to see this, plain and simple. And the last why, as far as why you should be updating listings and optimizing them, is kind of wraps it up. And it's, again, very simple, but well-optimized listings drive better traffic to your business and secure business at a higher rate. So if you don't have a business page set up for your business on Facebook, or you don't have your Google Maps listing set up, you're missing out on opportunities right there to drive traffic to your business. People who have those well optimized and claimed, they're going to get that traffic every time. Whereas if you do have that claimed, possibly you have your Google Maps listing or your Yelp profile claimed, but you haven't really taken the time to optimize it and put good information on there, good contact information, good business details, you're still probably going to miss out on some of that traffic. Two profiles equal in all other areas. The one that's giving better information and more consistent information is going to be the one that drives better traffic. So just having these listings set up and then taking it to the next level with optimizing them and getting all this good information in there, you're driving better traffic and you're going to secure business at a much higher rate. So let's switch focus a little bit to which listings should I focus on? Again, we had this question in our Q&A at the end of last week. It's a great question because holy cow, it can get extremely overwhelming when we look at all these sites out there. And to be very honest, this screenshot that we're looking at here is really only the tip of the iceberg in terms of the websites out there. This is a really small snapshot. There are a lot. And the right answer here is you should be on all of them. And in a really ideal world, we want you on all of these. We want you to have optimized profiles on all of these. But if you don't have someone doing that for you, that can be a really overwhelming task. So let's kind of narrow that down and provide a good starting place for you and something that's actually going to really make a difference in your business. And so we're going to hone in on 4 main ones that hopefully and probably you're pretty familiar with. But the reason we picked these 4 is that these profiles have the highest local search traffic. So they give you kind of the most bang for your buck, even though as we have noted here, these are all free. So there really is not there's not a bang associated with that. But these have the highest local search traffic. You probably use a lot of these in your own lives. If not, you've probably heard of them. But these are the 4 that you can kind of put on your to-do list. Make sure these are claimed, make sure that they're well filled out, and you are definitely putting your kind of best foot forward. And just these 4 can make a really big difference in your business. So we're going to go through each briefly and just show you kind of an example of a well-optimized profile, and then an easy clipboard kind of list of what you should be looking at when you're kind of dealing with each of these profiles and optimizing these on your end. So Google My Business, I put this one first on purpose. Google is king. And if you take one thing from this today, or kind of put one of these on your to-do list, it should be Google. Google's usership is so high that it's very hard to ignore it these days. And again, you're doing yourself a disservice if you have not claimed this listing or are taking advantage of kind of all the features that Google gives you. So when we talk about your Google My Business listing, this is what we're talking about. These listings that show up right below the map in a local search. And if you were to click on one of these, what it looks like is kind of this knowledge panel here that's to the right. In this case, we're looking at Frankie's Pizza. They are obviously doing a great job because they're showing up first because of their great reviews and the good information here for the local search, which here is pizza delivery Enumclaw. But you can see they're doing a great job filling out information. Again, obviously their NAP information is here, their name, address, phone number. They have a link to their menu. They have some of these additional features plugged in here. They have a little business description. And again, we're going to keep coming back to it. They have amazing reviews and that's going a long way for them. So this is an example of someone who's doing it great. What should you be paying attention to when you optimize your Google My Business listing? This list I pulled right here is coming straight from the horse's mouth. Google has this list listed on their message boards. And so that makes it really easy. They're telling you what they want to see when it comes to the Google My Business listing. And so take this for exactly what it is and kind of follow this exact list. Since you'll have these slides, even though these, this is kind of will be a tedious list to look through, but you'll have copies of these. So reference back to these when you start to take action, and come back and check these off and make sure that you're kind of going through this list exactly what it is and that you're hitting all the important points. It starts with verifying your location. We talked a little bit about that last week. That's generally done with Google via post, but it can be various ways. Enter complete business information. And what does that look like? Take a look at these bullet points, and these are a really great solid starting point. If you have all of these filled out, you're doing a good job. So your NAP, your name, address, and phone, your business categories, website and other links. Other links are things like we just looked at, a menu link, for instance, something like that. Excuse me, jumped ahead. Your short name, which is really just basically a username for your Google business profile, but can be a great way to get a keyword in there and to help further optimize your profile. A business description and services and products. Plug those in. Keep skipping ahead. Plug those in to that platform and in the back end of Google My Business as well. Keep your hours accurate. Manage and respond to reviews. We touched on that last week. So again, this is Google telling us that they want to see that. That's an important piece. And add photos. This I think intimidates a lot of people, or a lot of business owners might think that it doesn't make sense for them. But there are creative ways to do it, and adding photos is a proven way to help your business listing get more eyes on it and rank better. So don't ignore that. Add photos where you can. Here we move to Yelp. Again, just an easy screenshot of someone doing it really great. Sound door service. They have a COVID update posted here. They've got their name, address, phone number. They've got their hours posted here next to the map here. They've plugged in a variety of services that they offer. And they have both photos and videos here. So they've really taken advantage of basically every kind of option that they can as far as plugging in information for their Yelp profile. And this clipboard is really going to look very similar to Google. What you'll see, even though all of these platforms are a little bit different and claiming the profiles is going to look a little bit different for each platform, they also have a lot of similarities. So as you go through these, you'll see consistencies from Google to Yelp to Bing, et cetera, that are going to make it a little easier for you. So again, a somewhat similar clipboard list here, but claim that business profile. With Yelp, that's going to be via a phone call. Complete your business information, your NAP, your business categories, your website and other links, your service areas, and your business description. Update your hours and keep those updated if they change. Update photos and videos, and again, manage and respond to reviews. Moving to our third one, Bing. Bing looks somewhat similar to Google. You're going to see kind of these listings below the map, and then if you click on one, you're going to get this side panel with the relevant information over to the right. And this is, again, Sound Door. I think we're using them quite a bit because they do a killer job. But their name, address, phone, which, by the way, if you kind of compare the slides, will be consistent on all these profiles. But you'll see that information here. You'll see their website. You'll see their service areas here. Really all the information you need. And if you need more, you can click through to their website very easily right there. Here's Bing's checklist. Verify your location. Bing generally gives you a few different ways to do that. So they arguably make that the easiest on you. You can usually do that. Don't hold me to it because it does depend, but do it via post or via phone call or email. So verifying that is the first step. Enter your complete information. Again, your NAP, your name, address, phone, your business categories, your website and other links, your business description, your services and products. Keep your hours accurate, add photos. And the only thing you won't see on this one, and I'm gonna have Chris touch on this in a few slides, is you'll see that there's not manage and respond to reviews on Bing. And the only reason for that is because Bing does not have its own review platform. They actually pull reviews in from other sites like Yelp, like MapQuest and some other ones like that. So even more reason to kind of do what Chris was talking about last week as far as paying attention to those, because Bing is pulling it from those places. But you don't have to manage and respond to reviews specifically within the Bing platform. And lastly, we're going to end on Facebook. And I think this is a funny one because probably out of all the profiles that we've talked about today, I think business owners have the hardest time seeing the value in a Facebook page for their business, either because they don't think that people are going to find them there, or they don't use Facebook on a personal level, and so they don't think that they want to do that or can do that on a business level. And I challenge you on both of those. It's a really important place to be, both for clients looking for updates and for Google. This is one of the top profiles that Google wants to see, backlinking to your website. It adds a ton of value for you. So even if you are hesitant because you don't like Facebook and it's overwhelming and maybe you don't want to use it on a personal level, I still challenge you to at the very minimum, get your Facebook business page set up. Get it well optimized. If you can, post updates, but that's kind of the third level of this. At the very minimum, get it set up and get it well optimized. This is, again, Sound Door doing a great job with consistent information, but you can see all their contact info here: name, address, phone number, website, hours. They have their services filled in. They have their story, which is really just a business description filled in. This is really a complete and really good example. And the clipboard here: set up your official page, complete your business info with these guys over here, update your hours and keep those updated, and add photos and videos. And for Facebook, people love to see videos and photos there. So I would say maybe even, out of all the profiles, Facebook is really strong as far as videos and photos go. So don't forget that piece there. A few pro tips that you can kind of think about for all of these profiles: make sure your imaging is as consistent as possible across the platforms. People like to see that, whether it's your profile picture or your cover photos. Keeping those consistent and strong kind of helps what we talked about as far as building the likability and the trust factor. People recognize you, so keep those as consistent as you can. The second two tie in a little bit to each other, but search for duplicate listings on platforms and merge and delete them. This is, I hate to say this, but no matter how good you do, you can't control it all, and there will be duplicate listings that pop up on some of these platforms. So you got to have an eye out for them. And there is some platforms easier than others. There is a process to go through to either merge those together with your main profile or to delete them. And the reason that those duplicates often show up is because of this last point, that data companies are constantly sourcing new information to the directories and platforms that we're talking about. So again, no matter how good of a job you're doing, it's inevitable that some of these are going to pop up. If you have moved locations, for instance, even if you have updated your address in as many places as you can think of, your old address is bound to pop up, and it's really important that you kind of stay on that and keep an eye out for that, because again, Google's not going to want to see that. People are going to get confused by that. You need to kind of consistently check these and keep an eye out for anything that's outdated for both your potential client's sake and for Google's. What about my website? So we talked about the profiles, but obviously your website is a really important piece of your digital business card. Jessica's going to talk a lot more about your website specifically in week 4, because your website also has a lot of really important factors that Google's looking at when they are determining where to rank you. But in terms of your digital business card, the key thing here, again, you've heard me say the word quite a few times today, but consistency. You want the NAP information on your website to match what people are seeing on Yelp, what they're seeing on Google, and what they're seeing no matter where they're going to find you online. You want that to match up. And like I said, Jessica will expand on some of this when she talks about on-page SEO in week 4, which is an awesome way to bring it home. It's good stuff. Chris, I'm going to pass it to you for a second. Here's kind of what we talked about for the Bing and how they feature some reviews from around the web. So I'll have you touch on that. Let me know if you want me to give you control or if you just want to speak to this and I can click for you.
Yeah, I'll let you click for me. So, yeah, I mean, and this, to be honest with you, this listing looks pretty much identical to what you're going to see for Google My Business listing. And the reason is, I don't know if we touched on this word last week, but it's something we call review diversity, right? And I know I alluded to it in the sense that you want to make sure that you're getting reviews on multiple platforms, just because that's going to give multiple data points. I think last time the research was done, it was like 80% of consumers actually corroborate reviews on more than one platform. So that means that they're at least looking at 2 different platforms. So no longer, gone are the days that you could be king of Yelp or you could be the king of Google. You kind of got to make sure that you've got that consistent image across multiple platforms. And this is a perfect example. Google and Bing think that these are both very important things to do. And that's why review sites are really a huge point of leverage for small businesses, because you have to realize, Molly said this earlier on, is that it's free to be on every single one of these different review sites. So why not leverage a place where people are already looking for you, right? So, and I know, like Molly mentioned, Jessica's going to kind of get into it a little bit more in week 4 about on-page SEO and what you can do to make sure that you're ranking well locally. But you also have to realize that each one of these review sites is kind of a search engine and a search directory in and of itself, and leveraging those as independent search engines is super powerful for your business. And there's not you don't need to pay for advertising on these platforms. It is free to actually be on them. So one of the things I always warn clients is I go, so just so you know, you're going to start to get a lot of reviews, and what's going to happen is that's going to cause somebody in the bowels of Yelp to start calling on you going, hey, you're getting a lot of traffic from Yelp as a result of your reviews. Why you should do some advertising to get more traffic. And I always say, do you even listen to their logic? I mean, they said that you're already getting traffic, so you should pay more money to get traffic that you're already getting. And so I just want you to realize you do not have to pay to be on any of these profiles. And it's not going to hurt your ranking if Yelp is as honest as they say they are, right? Or these other review sites, is if they're really truly basing it off of the best example or the most relevant information, then you should be good just continuing to be consistent at getting those reviews to continue to let that populate. And one thing I would note that I took a note here when Molly kind of kicked off, letting people know that there is so much power in updating and doing COVID-19 updates, just so that your potential customers, clients, or patients feel comfortable and know what to expect when they show up at your place of business. Again, it's that congruency, right? Does the thing that they read online, does it align with, and is it congruent with what they're about to experience in your practice or in your retail location or in your restaurant? You want to make sure that there is a consistency between all those. And I've actually, what's been interesting, obviously, because I get feeds from all the reviews that are coming in from all my clients, is that a lot of people are making nods to the COVID-19 precautions that businesses are taking. So just realize that your clientele are sensitive to it, and they do see the extra effort that you're putting in, and that's going to be something that will, ultimately, I would assume, would be reflected in those reviews. So if somebody is looking through your reviews, especially those recent ones, because remember we talked about last week, is that 70% of people only look to the reviews in the last month. That stuff's going to come up. That's going to build a lot of trust, a lot of comfort with you and your business, and a willingness for them to kind of step into it, feeling like they know exactly what to expect. And so just making sure that you are making the proper updates to your Google My Business listing. And one thing that we've been seeing, at least from our side, is that that's what Google is prioritizing. You might see a lag in kind of your reviews just because there's only so much capacity for, all their different systems to update things on the Google My Business listing. And the COVID-19 takes the cake and the priority right now. So you might see yourself get 4 or 5 reviews, and then you look at your reputation rating and the number of reviews, and you're like, well, how come if I just got 10 reviews, it hasn't changed at all, right? Well, it's because all their servers and stuff like that is updating to populate that, because it's prioritizing the COVID-19 updates. So that's also another way to create updates on your Google My Business listing, your Bing listing, all those, that then further facilitate you ranking better because you're updating these platforms. And, obviously, Molly, you can correct me if I'm wrong when I'm done here, but Google, Google and Bing look very favorably on these listings that are being updated regularly. And that is a social signal that definitely gives them a thumbs up. I also show this, this was a Nielsen study done by Yelp. So it wasn't done by Yelp itself. It was done by a third party, right? So it should be theoretically unbiased. And Nielsen does all types of studies, but they did this one study on Yelp a couple of years ago going, hey, okay, once somebody comes to Yelp, which is, it's just like any other review site. If somebody's there, what's the likelihood and what's the proximity to the actual purchase, or the point of purchase and the time of purchase? And you can see that 89% of people make a purchase within a week, right? And then 93% of people, use or frequently use Yelp. They go and they make a local purchase, right? So there's a lot of correlation between getting onto these review sites is kind of that last stop, like John had mentioned, to kind of confirm their purchase before they kind of go on. And so you want to realize that these are just great places to leverage a lot of search traffic that's already being funneled and directed towards businesses in your industry. Why not show up on there? Why not show up congruently with all the information? Because, hey, maybe there is that business out there who's not paying attention like you are and being intentional about it. And they had, I can't even remember what the word was like. It was like health semicolon fun or something. That is, nobody's going to really respond to that because they don't even know what's going on there, right? And they're gonna have a lot of questions. So, but yeah, that awesome information, Molly. So back to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you.
Molly?
Oh, Woody, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to tie in kind of the recent discovery we've had on COVID-19 and the actual main organic SEO results that we were talking about earlier today. Do you want to just touch on that? We need to look into it a little bit more on our end, but
absolutely. We'll kind of give you the breaking news version, and then this is something, since it kind of ties into website content, Jess might be able to touch on this in week 4. But there was one of the things you'll hear us say all the time is that Google is constantly releasing new updates, which makes it really important that you're staying on what you're doing as far as your website goes and what you're doing with your local listings. And they released a fairly major for Google update in May, so just really last month. And in kind of uncovering what that update is trying to suggest that we do, there are some content things. Again, this is kind of week 4 stuff for Jess, but important content bits of your website that they make some suggestions about. But one of the things that we found really interesting, because this is kind of rare for Google to do this, is that Google seems to be rewarding websites and businesses who are making a COVID-19 update. Apparently, and it appears on your website. And we already know, like Chris said, that local listings, Google, Bing, etc., are rewarding you for making those updates there also. So again, yeah, like we said, we've never really seen that for something that seems kind of temporary, and it could be a node to kind of how long-term Google sees this being. But yes, there is value in having that COVID update on your website for your local profiles, absolutely. And that is kind of a recent change that Google has made. Chris, I'm happy that you brought it back to the COVID stuff, because I want to say too, as silly as it sounds, and as much as we hate to admit it, people are getting lazier by the year. And I think a lot of business owners are going to hope that people are going to call them and ask questions if they have them. But some people might not make it that far in the process. They're probably going to Google you. A lot of people like to, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, kind of hide behind the computer and see what information they can find on your Google listing, whatever it be. And if the information's not there, you might not get the call. Someone who has that information there just might get the business. So I think hoping people, get to the phone and are asking you questions they have, it's a hopeful strategy. But the reality is, the more information that you're giving people in these local listings, the better shot you're going to have of securing that business, especially in these COVID times, but really always. So thank you for bringing it back to that. How can we help? Chris mentioned last week that each of kind of the panel experts are going to try to offer something that's going to be helpful to all of the attendees. And so from the WormWood perspective, what we want to do to help you is, number one, help you optimize that Google My Business listing. I told you, if you take one thing from today, it's that listing. It has the potential to make such a difference in your business. And we really put that so high on kind of our priority list that we want to help you do that. We want to help you get the necessary information filled out so that we can start getting you to rank better there and drive traffic to your business when we all need it right now. So optimizing that Google business listing, that might mean that we need to help you claim it or verify it. And I'm sorry if you're hearing the landscapers and the background noise here. I will speak up. Can't help these things. But we want to help you get that listing filled out and optimized and start driving some traffic that way. And we want to help you get a feel and kind of a grasp on where you're ranking organically for your core keywords. And when I say that, we're talking about your website down in the organic section that John pointed out in one of the previous slides. But finding out where you're ranking is really kind of the first step in any strategy, and you might be pleasantly surprised, or you might say, oh my, I thought I was ranking a lot better. But just kind of getting a grasp and seeing how Google is responding to your website right now and what Google's thinking of your website right now is a really important step. So we will kind of help you by running a report for you and reviewing that with you to hit on that important point also. Jess will remind you of this in week 4. And for any of these, and for Chris's and John's offers, you can grab all those from the portal, from the Digital Guerrilla Marketing portal. The password there is 2020. And Chris, I'm gonna hand it back to you to set up next week, and then I think we'll open up Q&A.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Molly. Really appreciate it. I took some notes for sure, and I was actually put my Google My Business listing over here because I want to make sure I'm making my updates, right? So really appreciate the deep dive there. And hopefully everybody can see how we're kind of building on, making sure that you're getting those reviews. Now that you're making sure that you've got reviews on these platforms, let's make sure that you look all clean, up to date on those platforms. And then next week, we're going to be starting to talk about, hey, what does it look like to jumpstart your marketing from a standpoint of, SEO can sometimes take, some time, right? Because Google itself is going to take time and update and only going to crawl your website so often. But how can we kind of maybe get a quick influx to that? And John is going to do us a great service and kind of dive into, hey, if I wanted to do some simple pay-per-click marketing, how would I do that myself in such a way that I can actually kind of generate some traffic and kind of get some early wins and kind of juice up my website? And so there's some cool insights that he's going to be sharing next week. So definitely recommend tuning in next week. Again, if you're on this webinar, you have already registered for those follow-on webinars, and you will be all set to just log in at the same time next week. And I believe when we get everything updated to the Guerrilla Marketing platform for this webinar, we'll send out an email and let you know that it's all updated so you can go in there, download it. And what I've been inviting people to do is just leverage this to train up your employees, or maybe your marketing manager, or maybe you've got an office manager, right? This isn't something that you as a business owner necessarily have to do. Hopefully the content is clear enough that you could share this with somebody that's integral to your business that could take on this responsibility and execute on your behalf, right? Because we don't want you to delay. We want you to take some action now. And then again, one of the things that I shared with everybody as I was kind of emailing out the heads up for the content being in there from last week is the fact that, we're all accessible, right? Our contact information, hopefully, maybe I've got to make sure that it's double checked that it's updated on the website so you can get a hold of us. We're here as resources, everyone, resources to you and resources to your network. And we just want to make sure that we help you guys out. So with that, Woody, I'll turn it over to you for some Q&A. I know we actually got quite a few questions here, and yeah, let's go.
Okay, thanks, Chris, and Molly, thank you, and John too for a great presentation today. It was fantastic. Let's see, let's get a couple questions here. We've got one, I guess, let's see, let's have Molly answer this one. Could I just use a service like Yext or Moz Local?
Very good question, and I knew that one would be coming.
Yeah.
This is kind of a double-edged sword. If using a service like Yext or Moz is taking a shortcut, generally speaking, it's better than doing nothing because it can help you get kind of an initial grasp on identifying some inconsistencies. It will show you generally, and hopefully, the tools are not perfect, but it will show you, hey, your address might be showing this way here and this way here. So it can give you some good actionable items to start with. I think there's no issue or no problem with running that to kind of, have a printout for all intents and purposes of where you can start. Don't trust that for your whole plan because like I said, these tools are not perfect. We have found that out from using that with clients on our side. We keep an eye on these things, and we even use it for ourselves as kind of a tester to see how the tools are responding and whatnot. And we've seen inaccuracies occasionally, and that's okay because nothing's perfect. But in order to get the best comprehensive approach, you need to be doing these manually and looking at these things manually and taking the full non-shortcut approach. But like I said, it's better than nothing, and it can give you kind of a good starting place as far as pointing out some of the inconsistencies that might be floating out there.
Okay, yeah, great. Makes sense. And looks like this one might be for Chris. Based on Bright Local last week, is that 80 to 85% of the consumers that do this? So this was from a little bit earlier in the presentation, or maybe Molly or John.
Can you say that question again?
Based on Bright Local last week, is that 80 to 85% of the customers doing this? I think I'm going to ask the person that asked that question to elaborate. Share on the Q&A. Remind us what this is. Yep, and then we'll come back to that. Let's see. Another question. We are in the service industry and have a 1-800 number and a local phone number. We use them interchangeably on profiles and our website. What would be the best practice for using both of these phone numbers? Should we choose one over the other for NAP? Good job in using the acronym. And is one better to use over the other for SEO, an 800 versus local number?
Woody, I think that's a good one for you.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you. It's got to be local number. And I think that this ties back into the Yellow Page days of old, where we used to track ads based on, and actually electronic tracking. So every time the phone number rang, we would track it. And we would track 800 numbers in ads for local businesses. And then we would track local phone numbers. And the ads that would have an 800 number did not do well. People like to know that they're calling a local business. So we still see that today, because if you think about it, Google is sort of a version of the Yellow Page. It's just a lot more intense and a lot deeper. And people are going to call local phone numbers and not 800 numbers. We see it now today in our digital world. So we've moved away from our paper world. But I would highly recommend that you use a local number. Unless you, as long as you're a local business. If you're a national business, you should probably stick to the 800 number. Okay, that's the question. Okay, I thought there was something else in there, but that's it. Okay, next question. Our company has recently changed locations. How does this affect our rankings? And other than informing our current clients, what else do we need to be doing? Thank you.
Good. That's probably the biggest issue that comes up when we talk about the NAP, and it's really important to Google. So the answer is you need to get on updating profiles, and whether you want to have someone kind of help you with that, or whether you want to do it manually. Start with the big names that we talked about today. Start with Google. Update your Google Maps listing. That's key. Update your Facebook page. Update your Yelp profile. Update your Bing profile. And then you can kind of start to tier down to some of those. But it's really important that as soon as possible, your online profiles and listings reflect that address change. The longer that the inconsistencies linger, the more that kind of has the risk of affecting your search rankings, and obviously confusing people and sending people to the wrong location, again, which we don't want. One way that you can try to, you can use a service like Yext, like we said, if you don't have someone doing this for you. Or you can Google your business name with the city, the old city, the previous address, and see what's showing up in search results on page 1 and 2, and maybe start there and address those first, because those are most likely the highest ranking profiles for your business, and the most likely to get seen. But yeah, we talked about this a little bit last week, and trying to get ahead of the curve. If you're opening a new business, getting things verified, if you're anticipating an address change, try to get on that as soon as you can, even proactively, maybe even before you've actually moved, to try to get the wheels in motion, because that's a really important piece, and something that we address very commonly for our clients also.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that one too, you do not want to create a second listing and a duplicate listing, like a new listing at that new location. I know Molly and I have dealt with that with a lot of the clients that we work together, and I go, hey, do you know they've also got this other Google? And she goes, I did not know. We'll clean that up. Because what happens is it takes Google a long time to kind of merge those, if you're lucky. The other thing that we've really run into that can be a real challenge is when somebody's actually, been operating maybe at the new location for a while, and they've got some reviews, some great reviews over there, but they got all these other reviews over here. It's like it's even more arduous to merge those two and do it safely, so that you don't lose any of those reviews that you got, right? So one of those things that I just would suggest is do not create a new Google My Business listing. Simply update the one that you already have, because otherwise you're just going to create an enormous headache for yourself unnecessarily, and you could potentially lose some reviews and confuse a lot of customers at the same time. So yep, just wanted to kind of share that element of it too.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that, because oftentimes we'll get situations here where the customer has gone and done that. And then we have to spend some efforts to clean up all those listings, because sometimes when you create a duplicate Google listing, the other lead aggregators, as we call them, pull that, and then it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a good point to point that out. Okay, so I've got the question here, rephrased a little bit.
And maybe we'll just do this one as the last one, just as we're hitting 1 o'clock. I just want to be conscious of everybody's time. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Is the 80 to 85% consistent for researching businesses, and is this data point across all age groups? I'll tell you, a lot of the times when they do these types of studies, they are doing the demographics of an age group that are buying what's called durable goods. So the age that you're more likely to be buying kitchen electrics and dishwashing machines and roofs for your house. That tends to be from the age of 28 to about 55. So because we want to get into the consumers' minds and survey those groups that are the serious shoppers. So I would say this is not involve the younger, like generation millennials or whatnot. They may have a different way of doing it, to be honest. But we won't know until we study them when they get to an age where they're not doing videos on TikTok. They're actually buying something for an apartment or a house. And yeah, we can cut it there, because the last question is, what is WormWood SEO President Woody's middle name? Does he have one? So I don't know where that came from, but that was our last question, and I'll just keep that a secret for now.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys, everyone. Really appreciate you, tuning in this week. Again, next week at 12 o'clock, we will kick it off with John. And so excited. I know I'm going to be taking notes because I think that it's a powerful thing to have a resource like that you can really kind of plug into real quick and kind of jumpstart your marketing. So with that, hope everybody has an awesome week and more of the sunshine comes here to all the people in the Pacific Northwest and wherever you're at this summer. So see you later.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.